Welcome to Storytime, friends. If this is your first time you're watching me, let me introduce myself. I'm Elise Sinclair. I write short stories about significant topics to reflect on, and although I am not an English native speaker, I tell them in English to have the opportunity to reach as many people as possible around the world. How many times do we identify ourselves and others with our bodies? Sometimes we judge others from their appearances, dismissing the idea that we are much more than our bodies. They are only vessels that enable us to experiment in the world of shape, but our essence is immortal. It is not affected by time or physical circumstances. And now let's get the show on the road and be ready to listen to Behind Appearances. Phil was excited because Allison had accepted his invitation to a party at his new house. He had been praying for that moment because he felt drawn to her. She was a beautiful young woman that drove men crazy. A few friends came to the party, but they had a good time. They played cards, ate delicious food, and danced. Since that party, Phil and Allison began a romantic relationship. Passion was present in every encounter, and Phil thought he was lucky to have such a beautiful girlfriend. Allison loved to go to the beach in summer. She looked like a model in her bikini, and Phil realized she was the focus of men's gaze. "Put something on to cover your perfect body," he told her while he kissed her. "Let's go for a swim," she said, taking his hand. They spent long hours bathing in the sea and walking along the ocean shore. In the distance, Phil saw Eric playing beach volleyball with other people. He and Allison got closer to watch the match.
Hi Eric, that was an amazing performance.
Thank you, Phil. What are you doing here?
I'm spending the afternoon with my girlfriend, Allison. Let me introduce you to her.
It's a pleasure.
Eric said, looking her up and down, admiring her figure.
Let's get together at my place tonight. We'll have some fun.
It's a great idea.
See you at 8.
Great, see you then.
Since that day on, Eric started hanging out with Phil and Allison. Eric was funny and they enjoyed his company a lot. One day, Phil decided to surprise Allison by picking her up in his car after work. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw her kissing Eric and getting in his car. When he rebuked her about the reason for cheating on him, she replied,
"You can't put the blame on me. I mean, just look at him, he's irresistible."
Allison really broke Phil's heart. He was devastated and lost confidence in women. He decided not to take any other girlfriend seriously and only live in the moment. 2 years later, he met Simonetta, a young woman at the university library, and they started a conversation. Simonetta had dark, curly hair, small eyes, an ugly nose, and a big mouth. In a nutshell, she had no physical charm. Nevertheless, she had such an enjoyable conversation and appealing personality that everybody forgot about her ugliness when they got to know her. Simonetta was Italian. She was doing a doctorate in science, whereas Phil was a researcher in applied science to medicine, so they had a lot of things in common to talk about. The conversation was so interesting that Phil invited her for a coffee in a cafe next to the library. What could possibly go wrong? She isn't physically attractive, so I'm safe. I'm not going to fall in love with her for sure, he said to himself. They spent a pleasant afternoon in the cafe, and before leaving, they exchanged professional cards with their phone numbers.
What are you thinking about? You seem far away from here.
Dean, another researcher who worked with Phil, told him.
Oh, nothing important.
Phil said, ashamed to be so transparent.
I bet it has to do with a woman.
Dean said, smiling.
No, it has nothing to do with that. I was thinking about some aspects of our research that I discussed with a woman I met at the university library.
I told you that it was related to a woman. Is she attractive?
Dean asked.
She doesn't have the kind of beauty most people notice right away.
Next week, he didn't know why, but he couldn't get Simonetta out of his mind. He was hesitant to phone her. Finally, he did it and invited her to have dinner to discuss some aspect of his research. Simonetta accepted his invitation. She put on perfume and dressed as attractive as possible. They spent a fantastic night together and discovered that they had a lot of things in common. He felt at home with her, and he could show himself as he was, without fear of what she would think about him. It was a sensational feeling.
Tell me what happened last night with Simonetta.
Dean said, very interested in knowing more.
We had dinner together and we talked about many topics. She's fantastic.
Phil answered.
Oh, my friend, let me tell you, you're falling in love.
Dean was right, because after a while, they began a romantic relationship. A few months later, Simonetta finished her doctorate. After that, she was offered an excellent job in Italy.
You can't go back to Italy.
Why not?
She asked in amazement.
Because I want to marry you. Will you be my wife?
He asked, showing her a ring. The proposal came as a surprise for her. Still, Simonetta was so happy that she accepted. Life had laughed at Phil, but he felt like the luckiest man in the world. How many times do we judge people from their appearances? An attractive person always catches our attention, but we have to take into account that the body gets old and deteriorates as time goes by. On the other hand, our essence, enriched by our experiences, is always one step closer to enlightenment. The body is a means for us to experiment on earth, but we can't identify with it. Of course, we have to take care of it because it's our soul's temple, but our essence exceeds our body. The body is a vessel, a costume for our souls. That's why we can't judge people according to their physical appearance or the color of their skin. Behind an ugly physical appearance, we could find a beautiful soul. Thank you, dear audience, for being there till the end. I really appreciate your support and polite comments. If you liked this story, press the subscribe button and turn on the notifications to hear about more videos coming. Remember that you're invited to join our community on Facebook, Storytime Friends Community, a big family where you can share your reflections with others. I'd like just to remind you that your essence is magnificent, powerful, and beautiful. Let's see beyond appearances and withdraw the illusion veil to discover that in the mysterious game of life, you are the stars.